Hi everyone, and welcome back to GoHighLevel 360. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to submit your A2P if your business has a registered EIN number. So if you don't have a registered EIN number, I do have another video on this channel on how to submit your A2P as a sole proprietor. As of right now, that's something you can still do. Now, the rejection rate is a little bit higher on sole props, and you're limited to only one phone number. However, it is an option for those of us who do not have an EIN. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on submitting our A2P with a registered EIN. So the first thing you want to do is go into the settings of your GoHighLevel account. From here, you're immediately going to land on your business profile. Now, you don't have to fill this out before going to submit your A2P. However, it does make the process a little bit easier by filling this out ahead of time. So, most important thing, start with general information. The friendly business name, you can leave this as is. So whatever you want your client or front face, you just want to make sure under legal business name that you have the legal business name of your business that's registered or connected to your EIN. So you want to fill this out. Under business email, you also want to make sure that you put in a business email and phone number that is contactable, whether they're sending a verification email or a verification text. And then go ahead and select your business niche, website, and business currency. So once you update these settings here, the next thing you want to do is update your business's physical address. So go ahead and fill out this information here as well. And then we're going to fill out the actual business information down here. So if we scroll down, we're going to be able to select our business type, business industry. Now note, they may not have every single industry listed here, so you'll just have to select one that's closest to your business if you don't see the industry represented. Then you're going to go ahead and pick your registration ID type and go ahead and put in your number. And then the last step in terms of filling out settings, we just want to put in our authorized representative. So this can be you if you're submitting this on behalf of the business, or if you know the authorized representative, you can go ahead and input their information here. Just note that their information may or may not be contacted to verify the submission. So I'm going to go ahead and fill out this information, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so now that we've successfully filled out our business information, we have our general info, and again, your legal business name has to be the name that's registered with the EIN, but the friendly business name can stay as whatever you want your client-facing name to be. These can be the same, or if they're different, that's okay, as long as this one it matches the one that you have on your registered EIN. We have our physical address, our actual EIN business information, and our authorized representative information filled out. So the next step is to actually go and submit the A2P brand registration. So what we're going to do is go into phone settings, and now we're going to go to Trust Center. I am going to mention though at this point that if you go ahead and click on phone system and you're not seeing the screen, you may be seeing a little pop-up button in the center that's letting you know that Lead Connector is not enabled for this account. If you click that button, it's going to take you into your agency settings, and then you just have to find the sub account that you want to turn Lead Connector on for. Once it's turned on, you'll re-log back into that sub account, and then when you go to phone system, you should see the following tabs at the top of your screen. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Trust Center at the top. All right, now because we've never submitted A2P before, we're going to have to start registration. So go ahead and click on Start Registration. Now this should auto input, so we have the United States as our country, and then yes, my business is registered. So I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. Now under legal business name, it should already fill out or populate the information that we filled out into our business profile here. So I'm just going to look over, make sure it's correct, no typos, and then I'm going to hit continue. And then same thing with our business address, just quickly look over it, make sure there's no typos, go ahead and hit continue. And then same thing with our authorized representative. So at this point, once we hit continue, it's going to send us a one-time password. So this is why it's important that whoever the authorized representative is, that you are able to access their email, or somebody who you can get in touch with to access their email to submit the code. So from this point, what you're going to do is submit the code and then go ahead and hit verify. So after we hit verify, we should see the following screen, and this is where you get to choose whether you just need a low volume standard phone number, or if this is something where you're going to be sending out a mass amount of texts or basically to people who have opted into your list, then you're going to do high volume standard. So for this example, I'm just going to do low volume standard. And then at this point, it's just going to ask us to acknowledge the brand and campaign registration fee that will be charged to the sub account. So before going any further, I will note that if your client's card, if you're filling this out for a client, if their card is not already set up in billing, then this charge right here is going to go to whatever card is set up on the agency. So just be mindful of that. If this is something that you want to be passed on to the client, make sure that their billing is set up properly before completing this step. So next, we're going to go ahead and hit continue. Now, there's two options. There's quick setup and then there's manual setup. Now, depending on preference, usually I like to go to quick setup. However, that doesn't mean that you're not going to get rejected. Manual setup, for those who have got a system down and have everything basically templated, you can probably do manual setup and it's, you're not going to experience much of a difference if you're going off of a template. But if you're new to A2P and you're doing this for the first time, it might be the easiest option to just do quick setup. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. Now it's going to ask us, based on the information that I submitted in terms of our business type, I put marketing. So the questions here that it's asking in terms of what types of messaging we're going to send, here's the options I get for the brand or business type that I submitted. So I'm going to do transactional and non-marketing. And then the campaign use case is going to default to customer care. I don't have to select this, so I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. Okay. Now, the next step is to copy this code and paste it into your website footer. So essentially what GoHighLevel is doing with the quick setup is they're taking care of the opt-in information, everything for you. So they're just asking you questions, you're going to paste this to your website, and then essentially you can see on the example chat widget preview that it already has the opt-in messaging here already pre-done for your business based on the information you already gave them. So at this point, you'll go ahead and copy this code and then go paste it to your website and hit continue. Okay, now the next step here, you can see that because we did quick setup, it's already inputted our use case description, our sample messaging, how people or how contacts opt into the messages, the actual opt-in message, and then optionally, you want to go through the bottom checklist here. This is just ensuring that your website is able to be accessible by whoever's going to review this campaign, making sure you have terms and conditions and privacy policy, your address, business phone, and everything represents the brand that's on the website. So you verified that there's no mention of affiliate, buying leads or any of that sort of documentation on your website. You've already added the web chat widget code, and you confirm that there's no forms collecting phone numbers without an SMS opt-in consent message. So you'll want to go through this list and just make sure you have everything set up, and then you're going to click review application. So now what it's going to do is GoHighLevel's AI is going to essentially audit your submission. Now I am doing all example stuff, so this may or may not go through. We're going to see here. Okay, now assuming that you used a real website and you've pasted your chat widget code to that website, you should successfully pass this process and then be able to submit your campaign submission. This is the easiest way to do A2P. It's pretty much completely automated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and now I'm going to show you how to fill out A2P if you were doing it the manual setup option and not the automated quick setup option. Okay, so now at this point, instead of doing quick setup, I'm going to go ahead and select manual setup and hit continue. So now for manual setup, unlike the quick setup, we're going to have to choose what our campaign use case is. Usually when I'm doing this manually, I always choose low volume mixed. And then here it gives us a pre-filled out, use case description as well as our messaging. You can always see examples and maybe customize this if needed. What I typically like to do for these messages is make a few changes. Mainly, I like to use messages that are dealing with appointment confirmations or, appointment reschedules. And I like to add a few additional details. So I'm going to go ahead and customize these messages, and then I'll explain to you what I did and why. Okay, so I made a few updates. So the first thing I did was update the use case description, since I'm just going to send them to my website where they can opt in via website form or a calendar form. So I removed the language around the chat widget. And then I also updated in terms of the messages that they will be sent by adding in, scheduled appointment or submit an inquiry. These could include appointment confirmations, appointment reminders, or responses to inquiries, scheduling updates, and fall communications. So this is a pretty good one that I like to use across all accounts when I'm submitting A2P. If you want to use the same example copy, you can go ahead and pause the screen and then just make sure to change out the example information for your actual business information. And in order to do this, I just use ChatGPT to help. So you can always use ChatGPT, Claude, basically any AI platform to kind of help you customize the templates that GoHighLevel gives you for your specific business and use case as well. So the next thing I like to do, and this is just something that I've kind of learned from submitting the A2P, is anytime you're dealing with the sample messaging, it's good to put in an example contact name. So hi, and then put in the actual name of the example contact. So I just put in Tim here. And then make sure to introduce the user with the business. So it'll be, this is, and then input the username or the representative, and then put in the actual business name here. Now, I don't like to include any embed links or phone numbers in these sample messages. So typically I'll go ahead and just unselect these two messaging details here because those won't be needed. I also like to add in, thank you and then the business name before or after the reply stop to unsubscribe. So just for comparison, this was the initial template that I got from GoHighLevel. As you can see, it just says, hi, this is the business, received your inquiry, reply stop to unsubscribe. So we just went ahead and customized it a little more. It seems more real, authentic. And typically GoHighLevel, when previously submitting A2P, this is what they would like you to do. So I like to go ahead and stay with that. And then same thing with message number 2. Went ahead and customized it. You can see here's the initial message, and then here's our after message. And then all we need to do now is just copy this over. Boom. Perfect. All right, so from here, we're going to go ahead and hit continue. So now what we need to do is select the opt-in method. So I'm going to go ahead and choose website form. Now, here's a brief pop-up. Again, you can pause your screen to read through this if needed. This is just going through what they expect to be on the form. So number 1, the phone number cannot be explicitly required. Number 2, the terms of the opt-ins, there should be 2 checkboxes that they have to select. The first one is dealing with the campaign description and kind of use case. And then the second one is just saying, I consent to receiving marketing and promotional messages from this specific business. So it's just going to basically go through, make sure you have the phone number as optional, make sure you have both of these 2 consent checkboxes customized to your business as well as your campaign description. And then the last thing is to make sure you have both the privacy policy and terms of service on this form. So I do have another video on my sole prop where I go through how to lay this out on a funnel. It's important to note that you don't have to put in your website here. You can actually use a funnel that you've customized specifically for this A2P submission, making sure that it has the correct form, the correct footer, etc. So go ahead and put in your opt-in form URL here. Okay, so now you can see after we've put in our opt-in form URL, it automatically customized the how do contacts opt into messages. This looks fine here, so I'm going to go ahead and leave this. The actual opt-in message, so they give you 2 examples. I'm going to choose example number 1 because this is basically the same exact message that I've submitted on other A2P campaigns, and it usually does pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and the only thing that I would add to it is just, again, adding the basically business sign-off. Okay. And then here, it's going to be the same checklist, a little bit different, but the same basically process as the quick submit. So you just want to go through each of these boxes and make sure that you have all of these selected. Now, once you've done this, you're going to go ahead and click review application. And then the same AI that was used in quick submit is going to go through and make sure that your website is compliant. So it's going to go through the opt-in form, make sure everything on there is accurate, privacy policy, and then terms and conditions. Once you've gotten this where everything is passed successfully, you're going to hit proceed. And at that point, it's going to submit your A2P campaign. So yeah, that is how to submit your A2P as a registered business with your EIN. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful to you. If you did find it helpful, please go ahead and leave a like. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comment section down below. And if you want to see more GoHighLevel content, tutorials, snapshots, basically anything involving GoHighLevel, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.